The realities of selling your home is that it's going to be daunting and rewarding at the same time. I don't say this to scare you, I say this to prepare you. So let's take a closer look at 21 hard facts you'll want to know before you go on the market. My name is Andrew Finney, and my passion is helping you make sense of real estate. If you need help finding a top agent near you, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. All right, my friend, let's take a closer look at this because we all know that proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Let's ensure that you have much success and you enjoy selling your house. The first fact that you're going to want to know is to be familiar with your local real estate market, the trends, and the conditions in that market. Now, you might be wondering, Andrew, why do I as a seller need to be familiar with this? That's a great question. The reason that you're going to want to be familiar with the market condition is because depending on what market condition you find yourself in, either a seller's market, a buyer's market, or a stabilized market, will ultimately determine the average days on market you can expect to be on and also the negotiations you need to be prepared for. Thinking through the negotiation process up front with your trusted real estate advisor and understanding what buyers in the market and what the market conditions are at that time will better prepare you for when it comes time for the actual negotiations on your property. Having thought it through beforehand will ensure that you stay calm, cool, and collected in the negotiations, helping you get the best deal possible in any market condition. The second hard truth is that a decluttered, depersonalized, and clean home sells. Think about that for a moment. Let that sink in. That a clean home sells. One that's not stuffy, one that smells good, one that's fresh. And you might be thinking, Andrew, of course my house is nice. I like the smell of my house. I like the way my house is. And that's great. I'm glad that you liked it for the time that you've been in your house. It's now time to play Match.com with those buyers and ensure they're prepared to marry a 15 or 30-year mortgage to buy your house. To best do that, we got to take you out of the house and we've got to declutter the house, and we need to ensure that it's clean so that it smells nice and it looks nice, and we need to make sure that we put your best foot forward to get your home sold. Have you ever seen the listing photography that is just lousy, or you've seen the pictures that you just wondered, why wouldn't they have cleaned the sink? Why wouldn't they have cleaned up yesterday night's dinner before taking pictures? Didn't they know that these pictures could be exposed to possibly billions of people across the world that might be interested in buying the house? It begs the question, what was going through their mind? Let's make sure we get it in yours. They clean, declutter, and depersonalize today. The third reality is that pricing your home right from the beginning is critically important. And you might be saying, oh, well, you're just a real estate person, so of course you're going to say that I should price my home to fair market value. Of course you're going to say that I should price it right. And look, here's the deal. I'm being honest with you. The reality is that you and I may never meet in life. At the same time, I really do care about you, and my passion really is helping you make sense of real estate. Having said that, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because when we first go on the market together, you have 3 to 5 weeks to capture the majority of the buyers in the market. And if you're wondering, why is it just 3 to 5 weeks? Consider this. How many listings are coming on the market all the time? How much information are you looking at right now considering purchasing your next home? You're looking at a lot of information. What captures the eye? The new kid on the block, the new house, the newest listing, the freshest one that looks the best, that's decluttered, depersonalized, and clean, that has the best photography. So is true of the buyers that are going to be looking at your home. Pricing it right from the beginning will indicate that you're a serious seller, and by pricing it the fair market value, you'll stand to sell your house faster and for the best price possible. Here's a reality check for you. Sometimes I meet with home sellers who are like, hey Andrew, I'd like to price about 5% to 10% over market because I want to leave room for negotiating. All you're really leaving room to do is to negotiate below fair market value, because let me ask you this. When you're looking at homes and you feel that they're overpriced, are you really interested in going and looking at that home? Chances are that you're not, or chances are you're wondering, is that seller serious, or what's going on there with that situation? Because they have overpriced the home. All an overpriced home does is help sell your neighbor's home and others around your community, not yours. The fourth reality is that selling your house can be a little inconvenient at times because you're going to have people into your house. You need to open up the showing conditions as wide as possible. You need to have that lockbox on your home so that you can get as many qualified buyers in to see your home when the buyers are available. And sometimes that buyer's schedule is not going to be on your schedule. So yes, that means that it might go into the weekends. And if you're selling in the fall or in the winter when there's football season or hockey season going on, even if it's your thing to have big parties and enjoy the sports games, you'll want to reconsider that, at least ways at your house, and go over to your friend's house while someone else is checking out yours. The reality is that it can be a little inconvenient, but by preparing for this beforehand and identifying the showing conditions up front with your trusted real estate advisor to get the most well-qualified buyers in your house to present an offer. The fifth truth is that by not making repairs, it's going to cost you more money than the repair would have itself. And that's because when a buyer goes into your home and they're looking at it, they're going to be thinking, hey, you know what? I noticed a crack in the wall. Hey, I noticed that the toilet, there's something's wrong with that. Oh my God, the HVAC system hasn't been serviced recently. I'm going to have to replace the whole thing. All of these things we know as a homeowner are pretty minor things and pretty easy to prevent. By doing preventative home maintenance, you'll be able to ensure that you get the best price on your home. When someone starts seeing something that's a little small, it becomes big in the mind's eye of a buyer. What could cost us $100 a fix, they might think it's going to cost $1,000 a fix, and they're going to try to drop your price during the repair negotiation, and they're going to be expecting you to make a lot of these repairs that you must make pursuant to a specific loan type. Now, it's important to note here that cosmetic things aren't generally those things that you would have to fix. There are a whole different subset, and I've made another video for you just about the things that you need to be prepared to fix at a minimum. That being said, how can we alleviate this issue for you before you go on the market? It's very simple by having a home inspection done, making the repairs before you go on the market, and making that information available to the buyers that come into your home, showing them the home inspection report, the receipts for the work that was done, and what is truly going on with that house. A well-maintained home is going to sell for more money. At the same time, a home that already has the repairs done is going to increase the transparency to the buyer, warranting the price that you're asking for the home, as they have peace of mind moving forward with you. The sixth fact is that you'll help your neighbor sell their house by overpricing yours. Sure, we talked about that a moment ago. We touched on it. I want to dive a little bit deeper in this with you, and I want you to consider what is your interpretation if you see a home in the same community for sale as another home that's exactly the same, and one of them is asking 5 to 10% more than the other house, and there's nothing really different with it. Same floor plan, same model, maybe even the same features and benefits and amenities. Now, sure, if you have a more upgraded home, okay, your home should be selling for a little bit more. But if we're being honest here, a lot of times the homes might be very, very comparable. And if yours is overpriced, all you did was make the buyer want to go in, try to figure out why you were so overpriced, that there was something that they missed in the pictures. And when they realize it's the same as the other house, which home would you buy between those two options? You would probably, like most other people, purchase the house that was the least expensive, wouldn't you? So let's be honest here and be honest that overpricing is a huge mistake, and it is fortunately one that we can avoid by being honest with you up front. The seventh reality is that buyers love to renegotiate after a home inspection. This goes back to what we touched on a moment ago, that buyers will make a bigger issue out of something small than is reality. Goes back to the wisdom of that home pre-inspection to ensure that you're hitting the price that you want. Buyers, you can't fault them. They're just thinking about it. It's a little bit nerve-wracking. They're getting ready to make a major purchase, and when they see the repairs, they're already thinking, hey, you know, I'm putting out all this money for my down payment. I'm putting out all this money for my buyer closing costs. I need something here, so what can I negotiate with? It's that home inspection that gives them the gusto to want to ask for more repairs or ask you to make concessions on the price based upon that home inspection report. The easiest and best way to alleviate this is by spending a few $100s up front with the home pre-inspection and having it done. You'll take that card right out of the buyer's negotiation strategy when you have that done. The eighth truism here is that buyers love to interrogate home sellers that are present during the showings. And you might be wondering, what do you mean they want to interrogate me? Oh, they seem so nice. They seem like such a wonderful couple. Let me ask you something. Was one of the questions that really sweet buying couple asked you about the time frame that you need to move out of your house? It probably was. Now, why did they ask that question? They're trying to discern your motivation and your time frame to move, and if that's the case, what they're looking for is a possible negotiation advantage if they can find out from you that you've already bought a new construction home or you've already purchased another home, maybe in the same area or out of state. They're going to think to themselves, oh my God, the seller has to sell this home because they just bought another house and they probably need the money from this one. It's a reasonable thought process. They will try everything they can, and a savvy buyer agent might simply toss out a question here and there. They might ask you, hey, so when was the last time the HVAC was serviced? How old is the water heater? How old is the stove? Have you ever had any leaks in the house to your knowledge? Is there anything that we should know as a family that wants to purchase this home moving forward with you about the maintenance and the care of this this home. It's not wise to be present during the home showing itself because of the questions that they could potentially ask you or a savvy buyer agent could ask you. The other reality here is by not being there, it'll also enable them to feel free to walk around the house and visualize them living there. They won't feel like they're intruding on your schedule and they'll take their time. Here's a key observation for you. The longer a buyer takes in your house, the more apt they are to make an offer. This is something I have seen again and again and again in real estate practice in helping families sell their home and also in representing families that purchase a home. Because what starts to happen is the buyer starts wondering, where am I going to put my television? Where am I going to put my furniture? And when we have that conversation taking place during a home showing, you're about to get an offer. The ninth reality is that a stinky home sells for less money than it would have had it been clean. We touched on the very first point today in our conversation about the importance of having a clean home. So is true by making sure that you have pleasant aromas inside of your house. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, that's good, I'll bake some cookies before the buyers come out, or I'll put in some Glade plugins that smell like food, please don't. And here's why. When you smell food, what happens? More than likely, your mouth starts to salivate, and more than likely, you get hungry. If you're hungry, are you focused on looking at the house? No. You're focused on getting something in your belly because now you're hungry. The best scents that you can go with are fresh, clean scents, especially if you can get like a lemon scent in your house. That's very, very smart. And let me tell you why. Our brains and the way that we think and the way that smells affect us, a citrus smell, specifically like a lemon or a lemongrass, opens up our mind and increases our cognition. As we increase our cognition, they're focusing in on your house, and that's exactly what we want them to do to help you sell your house. Think about the scent, think about the smell, but by all means, please make sure it doesn't smell like hot, wet garbage. The 10th reality is that cash is not always king. Consider the fact that a lot of cash people are going to want to do what? They're going to want to drop your price. They're going to want to say, hey, I'm presenting you with cash. You should take my offer. I'm not going to do an appraisal, but because of that, I want you to drop your house 10, 15% under market because I'm going to make this easy for you. Let's be honest here. An offer that's financed is the same thing as cash to you at the end of the day, isn't it? Because the only one that's going to impact is the buyer themselves by taking out that mortgage. But for you as a seller, when you reach the closing table and you're about to close, is that money that you're going to be paid in an annulment? No, it's money that you're going to be paid directly in the form of the equity on your property. So think about that closely. Yes, financing does have some different contingencies like an appraisal. At the same time, if you've priced your home right, there's nothing to be afraid of here, and it's something to prepare you for success and ensure you get the best price possible. The 11th reality is that a well-maintained home will always sell for more money. I want you to think about the last time that you walked into a home and you saw a home in disrepair. What was going through your mind? More than likely, dollar signs were flying up out of your mind, and you were sitting there on your calculator or sitting there on your phone, adding up all the numbers it's going to cost to redo the floors, redo the paint, redo the kitchen, remodel the bathrooms, and you're just bing, 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 bing. And as you're thinking about all those numbers, going through your mind is how much you want to offer them on that property, and it's probably significantly less than the list price, isn't it? Let's just be honest here. That's how we as humans are, and it's okay to embrace our human nature, but by understanding our human nature and how people think, we can best position you to sell your house for the best price possible. By having a well-maintained home takes those cards, takes those thoughts out of the mind's eye of a buyer, because they're like, hey, I don't have to do anything to this home. This home has been extremely well maintained. The roof looks great, the HVAC looks great, the water heater's in working order, the sink isn't leaking, the toilet's not leaking, are like the epitome of the perfect homeowner. Think about that and make sure your home maintenance is done before going on the market. The 12th reality is that if you don't respond promptly, you jeopardize your home sale. Now, what does this mean? This means that after you've accepted the offer and your negotiations are complete to get the closing process started, what normally starts happening here? We know that the buyer has a lot to do during their due diligence period, like their home inspection, their home appraisal, make the request for repairs. What are you doing during this time? You're probably thinking, where am I going next? And starting to get ready to pack out. You're focusing on your job, you're focusing on your next move, but it's important to take note that before we can help you get to the place that you want to be, we gotta focus on the task at hand as well, which is responding promptly to any inquiries of the buyer agent and the buyer themselves to ensure everything stays moving on track, smooth and efficiently, all the way to your closing day. Please be prompt, please be communicative, and please be open and get back with us as quickly as possible. The 13th reality is that we must get the buyers to envision what it's going to be like to live in your house. We want them to start adopting it and feeling that sense of home ownership, to feel that way about their home and say, hey, you know what? This is our house. It's not these other people's house that's selling it. This is our place. And when we get this place, we're gonna put furniture here, we're gonna do this decoration there, we're gonna be able to have family over here and enjoy a barbecue or whatever the case may be. We want them to be painting that picture inside their mind. How do we do that? We do that by ensuring your house is depersonalized of any of your own personal photos, your family photos, any of your trips. We want to take that down. Highly unique decorum should also probably come out. If you're a taxidermist or you're a hunter and you like having all of that stuff up on the walls, take it down, because the reality is it's going to freak somebody out. You might love it and that's great, but the incoming buyer and the majority of buyers out there feel a little bit freaky about that. It doesn't really resonate with them. It's going to be difficult for them to see themselves living in your house. But set you up for success by taking your personality out of the house. The 14th fact is that professional photography and videos help sell homes. Now I want you to think about whenever you're out there looking on Zillow, you're looking at a real estate agent's website and you're looking for homes that are going to be of most appeal to you, which ones capture your mind's eye the fastest? Which one is like the clickbait that you just have to click on that picture because it's so gorgeous to check out what's going on with that house? It's the professional photography, isn't it? Because you and I have both seen those homes that go on the market and they have nothing but yuck and muck on all of the pictures. It's grainy pictures, they're foggy pictures, they're awful pictures, and it makes you wonder who in their right mind would do this. I mean, this is just being honest with you. I wonder the same thing as a trusted real estate advisor. I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be joking. Another real estate advisor literally thought that was the best representation for the client? That's disgusting and it's atrocious. You should not do that. Even if you had to borrow the money for that professional photography, you should have done that because that's what's in your best interest as a seller. So let's make sure to get to the professional photography stage that you declutter, depersonalize, and keep your home clean, because those are 3 conditions I have here in Las Vegas, Nevada before I spend the money on professional photography and perhaps, yes, even videos. So I want you to think about that and I want you to be real about that. Let's put it out in its best light. Again, this is a lot like playing Match.com with a buyer, asking them to marry a 15 and 30-year mortgage in many cases. If you get your mind's eye around that, we can remember what it's like to be on a date, wanting to put our best foot forward, can't we? Your house is on a date when you go on the market, and we want your house to get married as quickly as possible with the best dowry. The 15th truism is that hiding defects will haunt you. It will get really, really spooky very, very, very quickly. If you're trying to hide the fact that you might have had mold or that you have a water leak or you have anything else going on with your property, maybe a structural issue, a foundational issue, and you have that going on in your house, it's going to come up over time. Depending on what the statutes of limitations are in your state regarding real estate law and practice, that buyer could possibly come back and sell you for non-disclosure of a material fact. So there is a difference between a latent defect and a material defect. A material defect, in short, is one that you know is a problem, and it's one that you clearly knew about beforehand. A latent defect are those things that you can't necessarily see, that you can't dive into the pipe, that you can't dive into the electrical wire itself everywhere in the house and know what's going on with that specific area of a wire. But you do know if you've had an electrical fire. You do know if your house has been damaged. You do know if there's major issues wrong with your house. Don't hide it, because here's the reality. There's always going to be a buyer in the market if you're being upfront and honest about your disclosures. I want you to consider this as people again. When we think about how we are as humans, we all do extremely, extremely good with good news, don't we? All of us love it. We're generally okay with bad news so long as we knew what? We knew about it. When's the last time someone had bad news and they didn't tell you about it? What did you think? How did that make you feel? And what was your thought about that person going forward? You probably didn't trust them, you probably didn't like them, and you probably no longer want to talk to them, do you? Let's be honest, because people with no news do absolutely terrible. Let's ensure that we give people the news, whether it's good and bad, up front, be transparent up front, and help you sell your home and mitigate any possible lawsuits against you in the future because you gave appropriate disclosure up front. That's the best way to safeguard yourself. The 16th fact is that by being respectful and cooperative during the negotiations and the closing process still is extremely important. It's extremely, extremely important to remember that we are all people. Please treat each other with respect and dignity. Listen and understand each other, and what you don't understand, seek to understand so that you can fulfill the expectations of that buyer and that buyer can fulfill the expectations that you have of them. By being respectful, communicative, open, and honest. Those are 4 key components to a successful negotiation and a successful closing process. So please, be cooperative, and please don't look at it as like them versus us. That's the worst thing that could ever happen. I'm the seller, I gotta try to get as much money as possible from the sale of my house, and the buyer's like, I just want to drop the price so hard that it causes them financial difficulty moving forward in the future. Look, that's extreme, and there's no reason for it. Let's just be honest, that is not a negotiation. That is an inappropriate thought process to have, and you see it purported on television sometimes in these different shows where it's like glamorizing somebody screwing somebody else over. The reality in practice is that you screw somebody over, they're gonna back out of the contract. You screw somebody over, they're gonna look for a way to screw you over. That's just human nature. Reciprocation is the name of the game. If we want a good negotiation, we want a good closing process, let's be respectful, honest, and polite. It is the correct and right thing to do after all. The 17th reality is that what you love may be what the buyer hates. Now, what do we mean here? What we're specifically talking about is your color palette. If you love jewel tone colors and you love that rich, royal looking purple or that cherry red, and it's in your house as an accent wall, you want to neutralize that. You really do. You want to go to neutral earth tone colors. Those are the most amenable to the majority of people. Even if someone says, oh, I hate beige because it's so bland. Here's the reality. If it was so bland and it was so awful, people wouldn't do it and people wouldn't be buying those homes, would they? What is the reality is that people will buy a home that is painted out to a neutral earth tone, or even sometimes some of the lighter colors of gray or pastels. But you want to stay away from different colors like greens, reds, browns, purples, different dark colors that are highly unique to a person. To know more about what buyers are looking for in your market and the trending color palette or the customary color palette that will appeal to the most buyers, please have that conversation with your trusted real estate advisor and be prepared to paint your walls if needed. The 18th fact is that when your closing date arrives, that's your move out date. That is your drop dead time to be out of that house. As of legal recording on that property, your house just became the buyer's new home. You need to be out. Now, my recommendation to you is to make sure that you're out of that house preferably 1 to 2 days in advance, if at all possible. Here's why. Having the house professionally cleaned is the polite and right thing to do when you leave the house. The best way to do that is to have all your stuff out for the incoming buyer. I want you to consider how you would feel about the house that you're getting ready to buy, more than likely, if it's dirty. Is that really the first thing you want to do after spending all that money buying that new house, is to go in there and clean it before you even put your sofa down? Probably not. So let's make sure that we do what's polite and right to do by having the house professionally cleaned before we leave, with the understanding you have got to be out of that house on closing day. The 19th fact is having your trusted real estate advisor verifying the buyer's financial capabilities is critically important. And this sounds like it's so common sense, because it is common sense. Obviously, before you get into a contract with a buyer, you want to vet the fact that they can afford your home, that they have the financial wherewithal to do it. If it's cash, they've given you a proof of funds letter, which is simply a bank account, an investment account, some kind of account showing their name on it. Yes, they can strike out the account number except for the last 4, and that's perfectly fine, so long as the amount of money in there is the appropriate amount to purchase your home, pay for their buyer closing costs. That's all that matters, right? Your trusted real estate advisor really needs to be on top of this game. If you've hired the right agent and you made sure that you checked that agent's online ratings, reviews, and past sales history and had a conversation with them about this, then you should already know, because that should have been the information that they volunteered to you about the process of when you begin receiving offers, the steps that they take to safeguard your best interest by ensuring that buyer has the financial wherewithal to make good on the offer that they present. That being said, that agent should also be contacting the loan officer for that prospective buyer and finding out what was the process that loan officer used to pre-approve that buyer. Did that loan officer in fact verify the buyer's income, assets, credit, and employment situation? Sometimes they say that they do, but they haven't really done so. Maybe as a pro tip here, you might want to share it with your trusted real estate advisor, is to get the loan officer to agree and sign away saying that, yes, I verify the income, the assets, the credit, and the employment for this buyer. If a loan officer is really, really good at their job, they're not going to care about signing a piece of paper that says, yeah, I did my job. Sure, I did that. Why does this come up, and why am I making such a big point out of this? It's because the reality is that 1/3 of all homes that go into contract fall out of contract. The number one reason is financing. By making sure that we're doing our job as a trusted real estate advisor up front, we can best uphold your best interest and ensure everything works out the way that you want. Which brings us to the 20th fact. Experience makes the difference with a trusted real estate advisor. You want to have one that is a master of the listing process, the negotiation process, and the closing process. How do we as agents get experience? This is something I always share with people, because sometimes it's very easy to get wrong. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, this agent said they've been in the business for 20 years. years, they must have more experience. Not exactly the case, and let me explain why. We as trusted real estate advisors earn our experience by the amount of families we represent. The more families we represent in successful closings is evidence of our past sales performance. The higher that amount that agent has closed, the more experience that they have. Our experience is not necessarily predicated on years. Consider the fact that the National Association of Realtors reports that the average real estate agent will close 3.7 homes in the next 12-month cycle. 3.7 homes. Okay, if you did that over 20 years, that means that agent has only closed 74 homes in 20 years. Would you rather have that agent or the agent that maybe has been in the business for 5 years and has closed over 120 or 130 homes? Which agent in your mind's eye would have the most experience and be the better of the two agents? Getting this right out of the gate by checking an agent's online ratings, their reviews, which are the past testimonials from real families just like you, are massively important to ensure that you get everything right. The third thing is to verify that past sales performance. Now you might be wondering, Andrew, how exactly am I supposed to do this? Head on over to Zillow and you can just get a very good idea about it by simply typing my name in, and then you can use that as a benchmark to find your new agent. Go on to Google and type in Andrew Finney Las Vegas reviews, and what'll come up are a whole bunch of different links underneath my name that I'm associated with. Probably you'll see some of the YouTube videos, you'll see my website, you'll see my Google business page, but one of those links is going to be to Zillow, and on Zillow you'll be able to hit my profile, you'll be able to see all the different sales that I've had over the time that I've been an agent, and a lot of 5-star ratings with client testimonials to review. You're going to want to do the same thing with the agent that you're considering hiring. Please don't make this mistake. Please make sure that you're Googling them. Whenever you Google an agent, it realistically is that easy. Type in the agent's name, the city, reviews. If they have reviews and they have a good online presence, you're going to get a host of results. If they don't, then you already got to question anything they tell you about marketing. And I'm not saying this to try to make another agent sound bad or anything. I'm really not. Consider the fact that if you can't even find the agent on the internet, how are people going to find your home? Something to think about, something to consider. Let's be real. And fact 21 is simply that proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. As a result of this conversation, I truly hope that you feel much more inspired and much more encouraged of what to expect while you're on the market by facing down these 21 hard facts we really need to talk about. Now you're better prepared. Now go out there and make it happen using this conversation to help guide you to the right decision. So let's talk about 20 questions that you should be asking your listing agent and 4 things not to do when listing your house. Looking forward to our next conversation. We'll see you in a few.